I'm so pleased to have you here. This is the Parenting Teenagers course. It's not just for parents, it's also for teachers or caregivers that work with teenagers. Now, as you know, it is extremely difficult to try and get young adults to do what you want when you want it. And that is because they're no longer young children. They have come to an age where they've developed a mind of their own. They want to practice freedom. They want to have their own control over their situation. And so if as a parent or a teacher, you've been tearing your hair out trying to control them, well, you've come to the right class today, because it's about time you stopped trying to control them, and maybe you might want to consider a different strategy, connecting with your teenagers, building relationship with them, getting them to trust you and believe that you want the best for them, rather than you're trying to destroy their lives and ruin all the fun that their friends are having when they're at home with you. Now, we all know that God made us to be relational beings. We are all seeking relationship, and relationship comes when we take the time to communicate well with each other. And that's what your teenager needs, whether you're in the classroom or at home or in a church or whatever community setting you're in. Those young adults walking around with earphones in or always looking on their phone, who maybe are in a mood or always wanting to be in their rooms, not really interested in engaging with you, or argumentative and never want to do what you're suggesting to do because you told them rather than suggested to them. It is time that we try a different communication strategy, and you will find that it will yield the results that you're looking for. So I'll give you 3 tips today. The first tip is you need to learn how to communicate love. If your young adult believes that you really genuinely love and care for them, then they will buy into whatever else you're trying to get them to do or listen to you about. And love is felt in many different ways. You might find that you feel loved when somebody buys you a gift or when they spend time with you. But some of us, like myself, I want to be loved through words of affirmation. If you say, "Well done, Lydia, you've done a great job," that does a lot to my emotional love tank than, say, buying a gift, because, well, I could buy myself a gift if I wanted, but I can't tell myself well done all the time. Writing a nice encouragement message or a text, that means a lot to me. And I'm sure you probably already know that there's 5 different love languages. And so I've already mentioned some of them. So there's the words of affirmation. There is touch, so being close to your teenager. There is acts of service or kind acts. And that is where you deliberately choose to do something sometimes mundane, like a household chore, or ironing their shirt, or helping them tidy their room once in a while, even though it's them who should be tidying their room by now, right? But any act of service that you do to help your children or your teenagers, that could mean to that specific teenager that is, mom made me a packed lunch, and that makes them feel so good about themselves. And the last love language or way that you can communicate love to your teenager is time. Now, time is the ultimate love language. And the reason I say this is, from when they're really little to when they become young adults of ages, 13 to 18, you find that by making time, you're making them know that you value their presence. You value that of all the other things that you could be doing with your busy work schedule or with your busy household chores or in the busy routine of the school calendar, if you're making time, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, to do something like go on a walk, maybe walk them from one dormitory to the other, or maybe taking them along shopping, or whatever it is, if you're making time for your teenager, you're communicating that you value them, and this is when they will most likely disclose information to you that they previously wouldn't have disclosed. So even if they seem withdrawn and not interested, if you start putting into place things like finding out what their love language is, making sure that you're fulfilling that love language. So if that child needs encouragement, encourage them. And over time, they will start to blossom like a flower. And then as you then do this one-on-one time with them, they'll be able to communicate with you. Now, the second way of communicating and connecting with your teenager is through good listening. Now, imagine yourself, you're no longer the parent of a young child. Sit down, stand up, run around. No, you're transitioning from controlling parent to a mentor or a coach. And good mentors or coaches, they always A, have time, and B, they are good listeners. So none of this interrupting when they're trying to tell you something, none of this jumping to conclusions and assuming you know what they're going to say. You're definitely not allowed to finish their sentences anymore. And if they're ready to talk and you're busy, I highly recommend that whatever you are doing can wait for 2 minutes so that you can finally get the information that you've been hoping to get from that teenager when they're ready to talk. And of course, most times they want to talk when it's inconvenient for you. But every work you'll ever do in life, you'll find that it can wait 2 minutes for your teenager to tell you what's on their mind, because that's what they need. When they need you, make yourself available as much as you can, or at the very least say, I'm really busy right now, but I promise in exactly 2 minutes I'll be with you. Just hold that thought. And so reflective listening is one of the best strategies that you can use with young adults as they try to work out good and bad choices. And so rather than just listen, you also need to ask reflective questions. So for example, you might say, I hear you saying that this and this happened at school today. Is that what you were trying to tell me? And so by making them to reflect on what it is you are hearing them say, shows that A, you're listening really well, and B, you're taking the time to fully understand. And also you find that the more reflective questions you ask, the more you will help them get to the solution themselves. So you might say something like, I wonder if your friend was thinking like this or feeling like this. Maybe you could check with them. So again, you're not telling them what to do to resolve whatever problem or issue they're telling you about. You're simply suggesting, because that's what coaches and mentors do. They suggest. And when you do that, you're showing them that you believe in their ability to solve their own problems. You are training them from being young adults to fully fledged adults who will leave your home and go and start life on their own without you. And if you're a good mentor or coach right now to your teenagers, even when they're in their 30s or their 40s and they need to make a big life decision, they will maybe think, I wonder if we should check with the parents what they think about us moving to a new city or to a new, you will find that they want to involve you long after they have left your home, rather than run off and thank God that the controlling person is no longer in their life. The final communication strategy that I will share with you today that will help you connect with your children is that you need to communicate your positive values. Yes, it's not just about what you tell them, but actually it's about what you do. It'll be interesting to know that for the last however many years, 10, 12, 15, 16, maybe you have an 18-year-old in your house, they have been watching you and they know what your values are. They know whether you're honest, whether you're kind, they know whether you value money more than you value time with them. They know your values in regards to difficult topics like sex or drugs or alcohol. They know because they've been hearing you talk about it in relation to your friends or your relatives. They've been watching you. And so, if you find that your parent that maybe comes home and goes, it's been such a tough day, I really need a drink, then what you're saying to your teenage child is that when they grow up and they've had a really tough day, they will really, really need a drink. Now, you can't then turn around and then sit them down for a lecture to say, well, alcohol is no good, because then that's just complete compromise and conflict of your values. So of course I'm not saying that it's too late. It's never too late. But by being here, I trust that you want to communicate positive values that will bring life and hope to your children's lives. So make sure that you're being intentional about your own role modeling. What are you showing them about these key areas of good choices in life? And then finally, make sure that you're talking to them, not at them, talking with them. So just as God does in the Bible, He explains to us, choose this way and it leads to life. Choose this way and it leads to death. It's our responsibility as parents to model what God does, and that is to make sure that we are explaining to our teenagers, because they're old enough to understand the explanation, why you would recommend one thing over the other. Make sure you have the information before you have these conversations. Do you know all of the side effects of some of the drugs that are accessible in your teenagers' school or community? By having this kind of information, you're showing them that you understand it and you're not some old person that doesn't understand the current issues. So even if it's just generic global information, for example, I wouldn't recommend that you take drugs, because if you do, they are highly addictive. They can have an impact on your mental capacity. They can affect your ability to do well in school. You're most likely going to find that the drugs that are sold are illegal and you could end up in jail for it. Now, I believe the explanation is much stronger than no, because I said so. And so taking time to get information about something you're trying to prevent your children from choosing, and then making sure that you explain it to them, will go a long way in helping them make good choices. And it goes the same for things like sex. Start talking about it early. It's a good thing when done within the right setting. It was made for between a man and a woman in a home setting to produce children and also for enjoyment. So I'm happy for you to have it, but when it's at the right time. Right now, your focus is on your education, and the consequence of starting to have sex from an early age is not just that you can suffer from sexual transmitted diseases, but it's the likelihood that you could fall pregnant. And then if you did, well, you haven't got a home or the money to look after that baby. It's not fair on your baby, it's not fair on your parents, and it's definitely not fair on you to cut short your education and career simply because you are after a quick moment of enjoyment. All of the good things do come to those who wait. And so by making sure that you're talking to your teenagers as young adults, not as babies or children, and really being honest about what it is that you're concerned about and what you want for them. Taking time to talk and communicate with your teenagers, it will go a long way in helping you connect and in helping you help them to make good choices. And of course, the thing about faith and values, whatever faith or your belief system is, make sure that you are communicating and sharing that with your teenagers. This is the most influential time of their life. And so if they know that you really love them, if they know you care enough to want to hear what they have to say by your good listening, and if you are talking about important issues, and ultimately if you are role modeling your faith, you are praying for them, you are praying with them, you are teaching them about how to read the Bible, how to engage with it, how to pray for others, how to care for others. Whatever it is you're doing now, I promise you, if you do it right, it will stick with them and it will not depart from them when they're older. Now, whether it's the good or the bad, it's your choice. But ultimately, you have the say on how your teenagers will turn out. And I'm rooting for you. I believe in you. And I look forward to seeing you at the online live discussion where you can ask me lots of questions, where you can meet other parents like yourselves who want the best for themselves and their families. So that's it from me now. I am Lydiah Baynham. I am your certified life and family coach, and I'm so excited and I can't wait to see you again soon. Thank you.